What's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. My name's Justin and today I'm going to be taking you through my very first deal. I'm going to be explaining my mindset, kind of where I was and how I got started. I'm going to tell you my game plan, what steps I took to get there, and I'm going to talk about my execution, how I actually did it. So before I begin, be sure to subscribe to the channel and then click on that bell for notifications so that you know whenever I post a new video. But stay tuned and enjoy the video. Alright, so like I said, the first thing I'm going to talk about is my mindset. Kind of where I started, when I started even thinking about real estate. And that age, I was 20 years old when I first started to think about real estate as something to where I wanted to invest in. 20 years old, I was a junior in college, and I worked my butt off in college. I mean, I always had 15 or more units every single semester. I was a business finance major. I ended up not using my degree, but yeah, I was a business finance major. I worked a lot. I had like 2 or 3 different jobs at any given time, and I worked about 45 hours a week on top of being a full-time student. And I still somehow had a decent social life, so I don't think I slept in college, but that was my background. And I really started to first think about real estate because I had all my money tied up in the stock market. I think at that age, at 20 years old, I had around $30,000 saved up, and out of that $30,000, like $29,000 of that was in the stock market. And it was kind of like I started thinking about real estate because of fear. I didn't want to have like the stock market crash, and I didn't want to lose all my money. And so I started to think about real estate. I've heard about rental properties and how you can get like more of a steady accumulation of wealth through rental properties. So that's what I started learning about, and to save up that amount working these jobs, because I was super frugal. And I started my first job like right after freshman year of high school. So I've only working at that point when I first started to think about real estate for about like 3 years. And these were like minimum wage jobs, or really close to it at least. But I remember, I think I just recently looked back at what I was earning at the time, and I had earned like $1,800 every single month from those jobs. And out of that $1,800 a month, I had saved or like kept around $1,600 of it. And so out of that $1,600, pretty much all of that every single month went straight to the stock market. Like I said, I was very frugal, like extremely frugal. I lived with my parents, my mom and dad. They kind of, took care of the housing. My mom cooked a lot, so I didn't really have to worry too much about food. Gas was like my biggest expense. And so that allowed me to save up so much at such a young age. And I'm so grateful for them for that. But that's kind of how I got started. I was so frugal to the point to where, you guys are gonna laugh at me, but I would go out to restaurants with all my friends, and they're watching this now. I know you guys are watching this now. I would go out with them and I would order water while they would, order their big meals and eat. And honestly, that taught me a lot. That taught me, first of all, sacrifice. Like I knew from a young age that I wanted to invest and build a good financial future for myself. I didn't know it was real estate at the time, but I just knew I wanted to save and invest. So I took the sacrifices like that because I knew that starting early gave me the best opportunity. And my real friends, the true friends, they never passed judgment. I mean, they made a joke with me a couple times, but the true friends who knew me and knew what my goals were and knew why I was frugal, they understood, and they never judged, and I'm so grateful for them. So if you guys are watching this, thank you for that. But that's how I was able to save up that amount of money. And outside of real estate piquing an interest in me because of fear from the stock market, I also thought about what it could do financially. So I thought, this is kind of a typical answer you might hear from people, but real estate to me, it was a chance to eventually build up financial freedom to where I could have passive-ish rental income coming in that would fund my lifestyle, and I wouldn't really have to work. Like that's what I wanted, and I thought that was amazing. So it was fear, it was the financial freedom, and there was one other reason. Last reason is more of a selfless reason, but it was the fact that I thought real estate done right, like real estate investing, it's a business, and you can create a win-win situation for people that I loved. So I thought that, if I was a real estate investor and I had a bunch of rentals, I would win because I would have rental income coming in, but the tenants, they would win too because they have a place to live. And so it was like a win-win situation. And I come from like a team sport background, like basketball, volleyball, cross country, stuff like that. So I thought that was so cool because I could feel like I was winning with other people too. So it was like, it's kind of like sports, but in real life for business. So I love that idea, and out of those 3 reasons, that's what I really started to like real estate, and I started just learning. So that was my mindset. That's where I was at. Again, 20 years old in college, and that's kind of where that thinking began. Once I kind of knew what I wanted and I developed that mindset, I had to make a game plan. So what I did, my game plan, I think at age 20, I just turned 20, I had set a goal for myself to purchase my very first rental property and rent it out by age 21. So I gave myself a year. And I had no idea how to do anything. Sorry, my neck is hurting, but I had no idea how to do anything. I set a game plan, and then I just started to educate myself. Like, I listened to podcasts. I mean, specifically the Bigger Pockets podcast. Shout out to Bigger Pockets. You guys have helped me a ton, even to this day. But I listened to that podcast every single day, like almost at every waking moment. Like in my car, I say I graduated from Mobile University. I listened to that podcast all the time. Car, in the gym, during one of my jobs where all I had to do was like data entry and scanning for a bank. Even during some classes, I have a headphone in. If like I didn't like the class or I didn't care for it, I would listen to that podcast and learn. And then I would, watch YouTube on how to do things. Also, part of my game plan, I talked to a bunch of other investors. So I went to a bunch of buddies and I asked them, like, is your dad in real estate? Is your mom in real estate? Like, do you guys know anyone who buys properties and rents them out? And I took out a bunch of people for coffee and lunch just to kind of build my confidence. That was such an important step, and I didn't realize why until now. That built my confidence so much, because they would tell me that it's so possible, even me being that young at the time, like 20 years old. And it was so important to me because when you're trying to do things that are, I guess, out of the ordinary or different than the average person, you get a lot of pushback, and there's a lot of what I call noise. A lot of people telling you why it's risky, why you shouldn't do it, why you're gonna fail, and it sucks. Like it's terrible. So like, I mean, now I've kind of built up thicker skin, and I don't care what anyone says. Like, I just kind of do whatever. But back then, talking to those investors was everything. And so I educated myself. I talked to a bunch of investors to help me build my confidence. And then I started taking action and doing things that the podcast or like the internet people would tell me to do, which one of the things was analyze deals. So every single day, I set a goal to myself to analyze 5 deals every single day. So I learned how to crunch the numbers on rental properties early on. And I connected with a real estate agent, and he sent me these properties, every single day. And for each property sent, I just crunched the numbers. I looked at all the numbers, and I could tell by myself, like, okay, this is a good deal if I buy it at this price. And so I figured out what my criteria was for purchasing something. And then it got to the point to where he would send me stuff, kind of immediately tell, okay, I know that area, that's not a good deal. Like, I don't want to buy in that area. And so I was slowly learning more and more, and I started to make offers. So that was the game plan. It was educating, talking to investors, connecting with an agent, and then knowing kind of why. Once I learned why I wanted to do it and I made my game plan, then came the execution, like actually doing it. Because it's way different talking about it, telling people what you're gonna do, and then actually doing it. So my execution, the first step, I talked to my agent, and after analyzing a bunch of deals, he connected me with a lender, because he said the first step to purchasing a property, you want to get pre-approved. And so I got pre-approved. I talked to a lender at first, and at the time, I was still working my part-time jobs, like 2-3 different part-time jobs, and I wasn't in them for like over 2 years. So they didn't qualify me a loan because of my income. I had really great credit. I had a lot of money saved up for the down payment, but I didn't have proof of income. I had income, and from that point, I really thought, okay, well, how do I do this? Like, I told everyone I'm gonna do this. Like, how do I still do it? And the lender said I might be able to still do it if I had someone to co-sign or co-borrow with me. So I asked a couple people, and my sister was actually the one to say that she'd be willing to co-sign or co-borrow with me. And man, that meant so much to me. I don't know if she even knows how much that meant to me. We joke around with each other a lot. We make fun of each other, but gosh, it meant a lot to me, because like I said, there's so much noise out there with people telling you why you can't do something or why it's too risky. And my sister, like, I knew beforehand, but she's probably like one of the select few, if not the only person I have felt truly believed in me the whole time. And I'm so grateful for her for believing in me and for co-signing for me and starting me off. But so thank you. I'll put her like Instagram handle on the screen or a picture of her because she wants that or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, like that. So my sister ended up co-borrowing for me on that loan. I went to her and I told her why I needed her to do it. Told her I didn't need any money from her. I didn't need to borrow anything. I just needed her to co-sign. And I warned her that, you know, if she was looking to purchase a home in the next year or buy a car in the next year or so, that this probably is not a good option for her. But she said, you know, I'm not buying anything. I'll co-sign for you. And she said, she joked with me. She's like, you're going to pay the mortgage though, right? I was like, yeah, I'll pay the mortgage. And it's, I don't know. She believed in me. And so my sister, like, I thank her so much. So thank you if you're watching this. I don't even know if you would watch my YouTube channel, but thank you. But that, again, that's how I got started. I went off a little tangent there, but I got pre-approved with a lender with the help of my sister. And then I started looking for deals and I made a bunch of offers. I actually, before I closed on the first property I actually bought, I fell out of 2 different escrows. And on one of them, I lost money because I paid for the inspections and the appraisal, which is just a learning experience. But I ended up making an offer on this single family home. They wanted $188,000 for it. It was a 3-bedroom home in Fresno, California. And I ended up buying it at $180,000. So this was not a home run deal by any means, but it was, you know, it was good enough for me and I just wanted to get started. Like, I knew the home run deals would eventually come, but to get there, I knew I just wanted to start and learn. So, you know, I ended up purchasing that home at $180,000. And right when I purchased it, as soon as I closed, the first thing I did, I went and listed the property for rent on Zillow, Trulia, and HotPads.com. I listed it and I knew I had a couple repairs to make. It was probably like $1,000 of repairs, really small, just from the home inspections. And so I got a contractor to go out and make those repairs, just like plumbing stuff and whatever. And then the grass was all really long. So I remember I took my parents' their lawnmower and I stuffed it in my Honda CRV, which I don't know how I stuffed a lawnmower in the Honda CRV, but I stuffed it in there, drove over to the house, and then I mowed the lawn because I wanted it to look nice. And then I cleaned the home with the help of my parents. They were willing to help me, you know, clean the home. And so we scrubbed the tiles and the grout and stuff so that it looked nice, so that we could make the house look nice with as minimal money as possible. That was the goal. And as I did that and stuff, I would start to get phone calls from all these potential tenants. And I already had my criteria pretty set. Like I knew I wanted a tenant to make 3 times the rent. I wanted them to have a credit score above 650. I wanted them to have no prior evictions. I wanted them to pass the background check and be a good person. I don't know what the last one was, but like that's kind of what I was looking for. And there's this one family who passed with flying colors. So I told them, yeah, like I'll rent the house out to you guys. And I still remember to this day, like how it felt for them to hand me the checks for the security deposit and the first month's rent. Like I was a 21-year-old kid and it was a family like looking at me like I was way too young to be doing this. Like they probably thought I at first was a property manager, but they handed me the check and I was like, it was like $3,000 or so. Like I was like, I've never received this kind of money from someone just being willing to hand it to you. And so that was pretty cool. But the numbers ended up being, purchased the home at $180,000. About $1,000 of work goes into it. I rented it out immediately for $1,380, so $1,380, and the mortgage was around $1,180. So the cash flow was like $200 a month, and that's not including repairs and stuff. So like after repairs and like other cost, I think it came out to like I probably cash flowed fully like $170 a month or something like that. But like I had no vacancy on that home for 2 years. It was amazing. I just recently sold it. I held it for 2 years, and I sold it just because I wanted to pursue the flips and the wholesaling full time so I can generate more funds to eventually have more rentals. So it was a sacrifice, but that learning experience was amazing. I wouldn't be here where I am today without that experience. So that's kind of where my mindset was. That was the game plan that I set for myself, and that was how I executed. What I want you guys to take from it, because like now you know my story, you know how I started, I want you to take from it the important steps of what I did. So I figured out what I wanted to do, and then I educated myself. I learned a ton. Like I swear, this is kind of sad to say, but I've learned more from YouTube and podcast and the internet than I have through my college experience as a business finance major. And that's sad to say, but it's so true. So I self-educated myself, I learned a ton. I made a game plan. So the game plan was, talking to other investors, analyzing deals every day, listening to podcasts. And then I took action. I took full on action. I talked to an agent, I made offers, and I eventually got one accepted. So if I could recommend you guys something to take away from this, my experiences, to take those 3 steps. Figure out what you want, educate yourself, make your game plan, and then take action. So it's as simple as that, and it's simple, like in theory, it's really hard to do. So thank you guys so much for listening and for being here. That was my first experience, and I am very happy I went through it. I wouldn't take anything back. Like, even though it wasn't a home run deal, I learned way too much from that. And I'm very grateful for that experience. So if you enjoyed this video and you got a lot from this channel so far, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and then click on the bell to get notifications. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you at the next one.